Would you be the jerk for excluding your daughter's best friend from your daughter's birthday party? We'll get into that in a bit, but first, am I the jerk for walking out of the house and staying out for the whole day while family were visiting after my parents brought up my older sister's not adoption again? My parents are hosting extended family for a couple of weeks. It's my maternal and paternal grandparents, as well as my aunt and uncle on my paternal side. It was going okay until last weekend when my parents brought up a topic of conversation that I, 17-year-old male, am so tired of hearing and being pulled into. So let me explain the non-adoption and why it bugs me. My dad had a kid before he met my mom, my half-sister, 24-year-old female. My dad had primary custody of my half-sister. Her mom was in and out of her life. My parents met when my half-sister was 2 and got married when she was 4. Her mom was in and out of prison, was on and off drugs and alcohol, and she was really disruptive to my half-sister's life and to my parents. She refused to stay away, but refused to be a good mom too. When I was 2 or 3, her mom offered to walk away for good, but only if they removed any chance that she could be sued for child support, etc. My mom was willing to adopt my half-sister. The 3 adults wanted this to happen, but because of my half-sister's age, her wishes held a lot of weight, and she didn't want my mom to adopt me, and it never happened. So her mom kept the back and forth for a few more years before giving up the relationship with my half-sister completely. My parents were so upset that my half-sister rejected having a stable and loving mom in my mom for a woman who even she admitted was so mean to her and didn't take good care of her. But my half-sister never really liked my mom from what I witnessed. It's a really big deal to my parents, and I've grown up hearing about it way more than I need to. They told me details I didn't need to know. When I was too young to be hearing them, they would suck the fun out of things bringing it up. And I know they hold it against my half-sister. They think the sisters, 14-year-old female and 13-year-old female, and I do too. But the lack of closeness has nothing to do with the not adoption, and everything to do with our half-sister not wanting to be close to us. I asked my parents to stop bringing it up around us a few times. They ignored me until they said they got it and would listen. But last weekend, my parents brought it up while family was over and I was so not wanting to hear about it. So I got up in the middle of breakfast and left the house and didn't come back all day. My parents were so mad at me for that. I told them I couldn't listen to them talk about it again and they couldn't help themselves, but I wasn't going to turn it into a fight to stop them. They told me walking out without permission is bad enough, but when we have family here, it's disrespectful. And they told me I'm old enough to know and do better. This was a sore point the whole week. Am I the jerk? Not only do I think it's well documented enough to the point where it clearly is not something they should try to keep forcing or complaining about or dragging OP into, but they're also doing exactly that, dragging somebody that has no business and is done with that thing, constantly back into their negative headspace and bringing down anybody that has to listen to that. I just feel like it would get to be too much for just about anybody after a while, right? Tiny Shelter 440 wrote, "The 3 adults wanted this to happen, but because of my half-sister's age, her wishes held a lot of weight." How old was she at the time? Too much math. If the mother and father wanted to terminate the mother's parental rights, it wouldn't have required the step-parent to adopt or the kid's consent. That doesn't make sense. Leaving all of that aside, a 17-year-old excusing themselves from a conversation that shouldn't include them and siblings and just plays on repeat is not the jerk. OP responded saying, "She was about 9 or 10, I think, but I don't know all the exacts because I don't remember it happening, I just remember the aftermath. You can't terminate your parental rights in most US states without someone willing to adopt. They don't want to take chances with people falling into financial issues and not having a recognized person to support, i.e. pay child support, for the kid." Also, hi, I'm Steven, and if you guys enjoy getting to decide whether or not all of these people are jerks, why not hit those like and subscribe buttons down below? That said, our next story is, would I be the jerk for asking my brother to not wear a dress to my graduation? I, male 21, have recently finished university, and my graduation is being held on the 19th of June. This will be my first graduation, as unlike America, in England, we don't have graduations for finishing high school or college. I achieved a 77% average for my degree, highest in my cohort, and have been asked to give a speech at the graduation. My little brother is 12 years old. Him and I are like best friends. We seriously are incredibly close. He even stayed with me in my university dorm 2 days per week. Our family adopted him when he was 6, and because of some trauma he received in his early life, he can't cope with mainstream school and so is currently homeschooled. He's a very girly boy. He has long hair, he likes traditionally girly things. He hasn't hit puberty yet, so he doesn't really have manly features. So if you passed by him on the street, you would probably think he's a girl unless you knew him. His name is unisex also, so that wouldn't even really give you a clue about if he's a boy or a girl. None of this bothers me. I love him for who he is. At my birthday last month, when my parents arrived with my brother, he had come in a dress. This is going to sound selfish, but instantly the atmosphere changed from being about me to being about him. He became like a mini celebrity and my friends, many of them girls, were obsessed with him. I never mentioned how the fact that the spotlight wasn't on me made me feel a little sad because my brother seemed so happy, and he was really enjoying himself. He doesn't usually like social gatherings, and the fact he was happy made me happy also, but my 21st wasn't about me anymore. Like most things, it became about him, which again, I'm okay with. As I mentioned, my graduation is in a few weeks' time, and today, my mom mentioned that my brother is planning on wearing a dress to my graduation. I didn't say anything, but I can't help but feel that this is again going to turn from a day about me and my achievements to a day about him. And I feel selfish for not wanting him to wear something that he feels comfortable in and asking him to wear a traditional male smart clothing. I know that when my friends and people from my class see him, he's popular among the class, all the attention is just going to go to him. I wrote out this paragraph explaining how I feel, and I planned to send it to my parents, but then I started having second thoughts. I'm worried that it's going to make him upset or make him think I don't love him how he is. I'm also worried my mom will think I'm being selfish and take it badly. So I really wanted to know from impartial people whether you thought I was being unfair. I floated this idea to my girlfriend, and she thinks it's unfair for me to ask him to not wear something. She says it shouldn't be my decision, which I understand it shouldn't, and even if I did ask him and he said no, I would still let him come to my graduation. I wouldn't want him to miss it for the world. I guess I'm struggling to understand how him attending this graduation in a dress is going to take it away from you, because this is a very large function with a lot of people being celebrated all at once, right? I just find it hard to believe that during the entire course of the night, there's going to be nothing but fixation on your brother. I mean, what are they going to do? Be focused on him and his dress when they're calling your name and you're walking on stage or whatnot? I'm not trying to downplay OP's feelings. I get your party being completely taken over and being disappointed by that, but I do feel like a graduation is a bit different. And I guess an important detail to try to focus on is he wearing the dress for the attention or simply because that's what he likes and wants to wear? Like, are they actually trying to do it to ruin your day or take over the show? Or even though it's something that may garner a lot of attention, you should try to be still kind of supportive of? I Get Downvoted wrote, "Not the jerk. Obviously you want your graduation to be about you. Your brother taking that away from you, it's him and your parents being selfish. Because your brother is a young kid, I understand he doesn't understand what he's doing, but your parents certainly do. You have every right to be upset about what happened and send that letter, though doing it in person would be better." OP responded saying, "I don't blame him or think he's done anything bad. I definitely don't think he plans on wearing the dress maliciously, and if he wore female clothing a majority or even some of the time, I probably wouldn't care either. He wears traditional male or gender-neutral clothing all the time. He's only worn female clothing one time, and that was to my birthday. I'm proud he's comfortable to be who he is, but at the same time, I just want my family to blend in and for the day to be about me." Our next story is, am I the jerk for refusing to go to my mother's church even though they got me a graduation gift? Fair warning, I have nothing against religion or having a relationship with God. I have a best friend who's Christian and we get along super great, but the difference between what her and my mother believe is huge. Long story short, my mother drugged me to church from time to time when I was born until around when I turned 18 and decided that I wasn't going to go there. I have a bit of religious trauma from my mother, and have talked to her about the multiple reasons I don't want to attend church at her church. Jumping to recently now, she told me about a week ago the church wanted to get me a gift for graduation. I told her something along the lines of, "Well, that's nice of them, but I don't need anything and I won't be going to that church." She acted like she has no recollection of me telling her all the reasons through the years of why I won't go to that church. She texted me this morning and is trying to convince me to come, even though I've told her multiple times I won't come back. She texted me, "The church will have your graduation gift for you today. Can you come to church at 11 o'clock to receive it? It would make us all happy." And I told her, "I told you I will not go." She hasn't responded yet, but I'll update if something more comes from this. So am I the jerk? What do you think? Of course, there is way more that I could have prefaced the story with, but then the post would have been a novel, so I'm just trying to stick with a little context and the basics of what happened recently. I definitely don't fit in at her church and haven't felt safe or welcomed in a decade. So yeah, am I the jerk for refusing to go to receive a college graduation gift from the old church I haven't been to for a service in around 5 years? Again, I'm not going, so don't worry about me going. I'm not. If it's something that you're willing to describe as trauma, and you say I'm not going to that, and they turn around and say, "So can you come by at 11 to pick it up?" It's more than understandable that you're going to say, "No, I'm not going. I told you I'm not going. I told you I am never going again." I don't know if you recently gave your mind a sponge bath, but nothing has changed. My Thoughts Exactly wrote, "This is very clearly a plan to bring you back to the church. Do you recall them ever offering grad gifts to any other members? Tell your mother you really appreciate the gift, but you will not be attending. She can either pick it up for you, or they can give it to another graduate." Not the jerk. Our next story is, am I the jerk for calling out my brother for being rude to my wife in an effort to get her to side with him on a baby name debate with his wife? My brother and sister-in-law are expecting their first child in July. So far, they have no name, and in the last 3 to 4 weeks, my brother has been trying to get my wife involved in this discussion. The reason he wants my wife to give her input is because his wife likes names he does not. He finds them ugly and not fit for grown people names, so boy names on girls, girl names on boys, unisex names, nicknames as full names and nature or word names. My wife and her siblings have names that fit all the things sister-in-law loves and my brother hates. For example, my wife's first name is Birdie, and one of her brothers is Delaney. My brother has a particular issue with my wife's name for hitting 3 of his no-no categories: nature, word, and nickname. My brother has been arguing with sister-in-law that the names she likes do not work for adults, and she should go for something classic and sophisticated, and not something that ages badly. Because of my wife and her siblings' names, he believed she would be on his side. Now, given my wife has kept her name for 28 years, you would think it would be clear this is not true, and that she clearly doesn't hate it or feel like it's ruining her life. But my brother has asked her via text, DM, and in person to get involved and speak about the issues with the names sister-in-law likes. I told my brother to stop 4 times already. The other times that I didn't know about when they were happening, my wife told him she didn't feel she should get involved. My brother is getting more rude about it because he's insulting my wife and her siblings' names by using them as examples, insulting their intelligence by saying anyone with those names would be idiotic to keep them as an adult, and he's generally being a jerk about it by telling my wife she needs to speak to sister-in-law for him, that she needs to speak up when she doesn't need to do anything, he tells her. I called him on being rude 2 days ago. I told him he can't make my wife side with him, and he can't make her get involved when she doesn't want to. I said we both know this isn't our business, that this is their kid, and they need to figure it out. My brother argued with me and said he wasn't being rude and he's allowed to ask for help to point out the dangers of giving a dumb freaking name. I told him he isn't owed her support, and he owes her an apology for being so rude and insulting. My wife chimed in that he wouldn't like what she has to say. My brother told me to not be such a jerk about him looking for help so his kid doesn't end up with an awful name. Am I the jerk? OP's not the jerk here, and very clearly, the dense one is the brother here. How many times do you have to say to their face, not only do we think you're wrong, but the people you continue to demand help from have said to your face essentially that you're also wrong and you're not going to get help. It makes you worried that he genuinely cannot understand the circumstance he's in and that he believes in a different reality. Trick Delivery 4609 wrote, not the jerk, and I would let your wife give him heck. He is insulting her whole family. She should put him, his wife, and you all on the email. An email from your wife. I personally love my name and the names of my siblings. Sorry, sister-in-law, that you married a jerk who doesn't respect boundaries and hasn't learned to communicate like an adult. Husband and I will joyously celebrate you and the baby for whatever name you decide. Since my vote apparently counts in this baby name choice, I vote with sister-in-law's choice 100%. Then, no contact with brother, but support sister-in-law and the baby as much as you can. Our next story is, am I the jerk for telling my dad I don't care about having a relationship with my future half-sibling? My 25-year-old female, dad 60-year-old male, and his wife 38-year-old female just announced that they're having a baby. For starters, we haven't been that close since my mom passed away, almost 7 years ago. They were together for over 30 years, but when she passed, he became a completely different and selfish person. Some things he did: used all her life insurance money, sold their/my childhood home, used my mom's furniture to furnish his new house, begged me to move back home from college because he was lonely, just to turn around and never be at home, etc. There's many other things he's done, but that would take days to type. Anyway, my grandparents, mom's parents, are getting older, and I've decided I wanted to move to their home country in Europe. I'm planning on going 4 to 6 months from now. My dad and his wife are now worried that I will never come back to visit them or have a relationship with their family. That's exactly what I've been planning to do. I graduated college several years ago. I have no kids or partner, so there's really nothing left for me here. I told them that they should be worried because I don't want a relationship with either of them anymore. Ever since that conversation, my dad, his wife, and dad's side of the family are calling and texting me non-stop, trying to get me to change my mind. I don't want to because I want to be done with all of them. Am I the jerk? I don't think OP's the jerk. I mean, ultimately, if you don't want to associate with somebody, you don't have to be forced to. And honestly, I don't think you're the jerk for saying so to them either. Certainly, the other side might think you're the jerk. Certainly, they might even try to put up a fight with it and say that we want to be connected to you. But if you don't want to associate with somebody, does that make you the jerk? Coldstream Capel wrote, "Not the jerk. Sometimes in life, OP, we have to walk away from people for our own sanity. If you feel the relationship is purely conditional and you only hear from him when he wants something, it's completely understandable you'd want to walk away. Also, have you seen your mother's will? If he spent away your inheritance, you may be able to take it further legally." OP responded saying, "I don't agree with how he got into a relationship with his now wife. She was a church friend, of course. It was a big thing and started a lot of drama between my mom's side of the family and me. They also started dating several months after she passed. Thanks for taking the time to read and respond." This next story is, am I the jerk? My 12-year-old has been mouthing F you and you little S word to me all day with my in-laws present. Am I the jerk? My husband and I, gay male, are in the process of adopting a 12-year-old son. I think the family dynamics are slowly settling, and I'm seen more as the stricter, i.e. probably overbearing type, that tries to provide routine, structure, and safety to my child. My husband does the same, but being a licensed clinical social worker, he takes a different approach. I do have anxiety and can get flustered easily, which always has been my personal struggle since my teenage years. For the past few weeks or months or two, my son constantly mouths "freak you" to me all the time with a smirk on his face. My husband is oblivious to these types of boundary pushes, even when I ask him to pay a little more attention. Cut to this weekend, my in-laws are up for the long weekend. We went to an outdoor festival for the day, and all day my son continues to push my boundaries, refusing to listen, mouthing "freak you" and "you little crap" and ignoring anything I ask. I tried putting up with it all day until this evening. Originally, I told him bedtime was 8:15 p.m., but then my husband told him he could stay up until 9:15 p.m. without telling me, which is fine and wasn't my frustration. Well, we're all sitting in the living room, and when it's time for my son to go to bed, I keep stating, "Okay, it's bedtime." He ignores me until I repeat myself a few times and then turns to me and mouths "freak you" with my husband and in-laws sitting right there. I finally got fed up and yelled, "It's time for bed," and he went off to bed with my husband tucking him in. My husband is ticked for how I presented myself in front of his parents, but I'm super upset and annoyed at how my son continues to speak to me and was just finally exhausted from it. I took the PS5 away and locked it in my office until I feel he can start straightening himself up. Was I in the wrong? Should I have just taken it until everyone went to bed and just removed the PS5? I feel like I should have done that, but was I the jerk who flipped out in front of everyone? I'm gonna say OP's not the jerk here. I think considering this kid is adopted, it's probably a troublesome thing to deal with. I would just hope that going forward you can talk to your partner, and instead of trying to put the blame on anybody, you can work together to try to figure out a way to kind of deal with it. That said, in this situation, when the kid disrespects you, even if it's in front of everybody, I don't think you're the jerk for trying to address it. Corgi Huntress wrote, I think you and your husband need to talk about a unified plan of action to handle this. Your son is pushing boundaries, as is natural. I would also talk to a therapist who specializes in adoption, because your son could also be testing you to find out if he can push you away. In other words, at what point will you decide not to love him? I wouldn't be surprised if that's in there, though I don't know the circumstances of the adoption or any of that sort of thing. Losing your temper is understandable, but as the parent, you have to try to be the adult. I'm going not the jerk because y'all are navigating a difficult situation. This next story is, am I the jerk for refusing to remove certain foods from my house because my husband's friend is allergic? My husband and I recently moved into the same city as his childhood best friend, Steve. Steve is allergic to all nuts, legumes, and soy. Because of this, my husband wants our house to have a rule that we're not to have nuts in the house in case he comes over. I think this is a dumb rule and refuse to comply. I did agree to keep my nut-based products in a separate container, but my husband thinks that this isn't enough. I'm allergic to wheat, and we still have it in the house. I also think it's unnecessary. I don't know the extent of Steve's allergies, but I do know it's not immediately life-threatening. He doesn't carry an EpiPen, and he also works in food service and frequently handles nuts. Being in the same room isn't going to hurt him. As long as we don't serve him food with nuts and watch for cross-contamination, we should be fine. The foods that Steve is allergic to are a big part of my diet. Also, this is where I live, not Steve, so I feel like I shouldn't have to cater to the possibility that he might come over at some point in the future. But my husband is worried he'll accidentally cause his friend to have an allergic reaction if we don't keep the entire house free of allergens. Am I the jerk for refusing to go along with that? OP's pretty clearly not the jerk here. Maybe it would have been an issue if this is like some hugely deathly allergic thing that they're so sensitive to. But as long as OP does the bare minimum to keep it separated and out of something that would be kind of communally shared, then I think they would be fine. And in fact, if I were in an OP situation and I'm being told that's not good enough by my partner, I would begin being worried that I'm with somebody that is so incapable of watching what they're doing that they would sooner rather have none of it at all in the house so they can't somehow mess up. Like, just be upfront about the fact that you don't want to put in the effort to be mindful of what you're doing when your friend is over, or work with OP in a reasonable way. Listen to Learn wrote, Steve is a visitor and may be a frequent one, given that he's your husband's best friend. He's working around the things he's allergic to and doesn't carry an EpiPen for emergencies, so there's no need to do anything other than exclude the allergens from any dishes you share with Steve. Your husband acts like the house needs decontamination because Steve is moving in and becoming the new sister wife? Not the jerk. This next story is, would I be the jerk if I refuse to return a Taylor Swift ticket that Stub Hub is demanding back from my coworker? Hey Reddit, my female 27, coworker Emily, female 27, sold me a Taylor Swift Eras tour ticket last November for one of her shows later this year for $700. Expensive, yes, but the seats are fantastic. Just at the end of the catwalk, 7 rows back or something. I have been a huge Taylor Swift fan for a very long time, and I felt like I hit the jackpot when she sold me my ticket because I know how disgustingly overpriced tickets are currently reselling for, especially for her North America shows. Before Emily sold me the ticket, she had it up for sale on Stub Hub for $2,700, but nobody bought it. I knew this when buying the ticket and assumed that once I bought the ticket, she would take it down. A few weeks ago, when I saw Emily in the office, she told me that she had forgotten to take the ticket off of StubHub when I bought it, and someone else had bought it earlier that week. I didn't think too much of it because I figured that she would just have to contact StubHub to explain that she didn't have the ticket anymore, and that would be that. Today, I got a DM from Emily telling me that I need to send the ticket back to her. Apparently, StubHub has a policy where if someone sells a ticket they don't have, they're on the hook to pay for a similar replacement ticket for the buyer at an equal or greater amount than the price it originally sold for. That means she'd likely have to pay $2,700 or more to StubHub for her mistake. She was apologetic, but I am devastated. I've grown up listening to Taylor and I'm such a huge fan. Going to this concert truly meant so much to me, and I can't afford to see her anywhere else other than my city. I am so sad. I haven't answered Emily's message yet. She's offered to give me half of the sale profit for sending her the ticket back, so I can maybe find another ticket. But here is where I may be the jerk. I want to ask her for all of the profit so I can at least have a fighting chance at a nosebleed seat or something. I don't think it's right for her to freak up the way she has and still make a profit from this. So Reddit, would I be the jerk for saying that the only way I'm sending back the ticket is if I get the full profit from the sale? Honestly, the whole time I was hearing this story, in the back of my mind it was like, ask for more, ask for more. Maybe not even the full profit. I mean, I would sit there and think, $2,700. What is the price that I'm willing to take at a cap of $2,700 to be okay giving up this ticket and maybe in the future trying to get another tour ticket? Bottom line, let's put it this way. Let's assume she paid less than $700 for the ticket initially. She still has the $700 they got from OP, so they've already profited off of it. I think it's fair for OP to want to ask for most, if not all of it. I mean, this is essentially OP selling the ticket at this point. Why should the friend get a cut of this not only because they screwed up, but because OP's the one giving it up at this point, and they're still out $700? If the friend wants to be filthy and still profit off of it, give OP $2,050. That is half of the sales proceeds and the $700 they gave their friend back. Our next story is, am I the jerk for excluding my daughter's best friend from her birthday party? My 36-year-old female, daughter's 13-year-old female, birthday was last weekend. There's this trampoline park in town that offers sleepover parties where the kids could play for a few hours, watch a movie, and have a sleepover on the trampolines. Her school is very small, so there's only 20 students in her entire year. When we were booking the event, she said to only book 19 places. I asked her if she was sure she wasn't missing out someone, but she assured me there were only 19 kids in her class, and I was just misremembering. Fast forward to her birthday, and this girl Camilla shows up with an entire box full of gifts. Teddy bears, perfume, candles, nail polish, flowers, chocolates, etc. I remembered picking up from school at the beginning of the school year and seeing her chatting and being very friendly with Camilla, so I assumed they were quite good friends. When Camilla went up to hug my daughter and wish her a happy birthday, she lightly pushed her away and told Camilla she couldn't attend as we forgot to book her place. I apologized to Camilla and her mother and offered to talk to the people in charge and pay for her place, but my daughter insisted that Camilla couldn't come. Camilla was very distraught over this and started sobbing. I pulled my daughter aside and asked her why Camilla couldn't join, even though they used to be friendly and she'd invited every other student in her year. She said that Camilla was just really weird, obsessive, and creepy, and she didn't want to be friends with her anymore. I asked her if Camilla was bullying her, and she said no, she just didn't want to be around Camilla. Camilla's mother had found out about the party through another parent, and Camilla decided to surprise my daughter, knowing she hadn't been given an invite. I returned the gifts to Camilla, apologized again, and gently told her that there weren't enough spaces. Her mother started screaming at me, telling me that I was a grown adult woman bullying a preteen girl. I told her it was my daughter's birthday party, she could invite whoever she wanted. She accused me of raising my daughter to be a bully, and that she couldn't just invite the entire class and exclude one girl. She claimed that Camilla was my daughter's best friend, and she had a right to be invited. I told her that my daughter's a teenager, not a 5-year-old. She can't be forced to invite the entire class just to be nice. I said that I didn't want to raise a doormat. I didn't want to teach her to value the feelings of others at the expense of her own. If my daughter feels uncomfortable around someone, then I prioritize her well-being over that of a stranger's. Camilla's mother is now talking to the teachers to punish my daughter for bullying. I've tried explaining to her that my daughter was simply setting her boundaries. She shouldn't have to face consequences for that. Camilla's mother said that I was an evil witch who took joy in bullying little girls. Am I the jerk? It's really conflicting here because they really kind of did invite the whole class. All 19 people minus one were there. I mean, really, how does that feel to somebody that isn't actually a bully to their kid? They just don't want to be around this one person out of the whole class? At the same time, I'm torn because it does feel like it should be a choice at their birthday party. But I feel like if you invite 19 out of 20 and there's not a great reason not to invite 20, it's kind of crappy, right? I don't know. Mother Tradition 774 wrote, "You're the jerk. The real issue here is your daughter lied to you about the class size so she could exclude this one person. It's possible that Camilla makes your daughter uncomfortable, but it's also possible that your daughter is being unnecessarily mean. With teenagers, it could go either way. I think you should go to the school and find out what's going on. You have no way of knowing if your daughter actually is being a bully until you find out for yourself. If she is bullying Camilla, you need to know so you can correct the behavior. Don't be so quick to believe your daughter is innocent here. Someone told Camilla she could come to this party. Ask yourself this question. How did Camilla know where the party was and what time it started?" Edit, just so you all know, OP added the information about Camilla's mom finding out about the party details from another parent after the majority of people voted her the jerk and suggested that her daughter was the mean girl. I was one of the first people who commented on this post, and that bit of info wasn't there. OP is as manipulative as her daughter is. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. Now, if you want to hear another absolutely crazy Am I the Jerk Here story, check out that video on the left. Or if you missed my latest video, check out that video on the right. That said, I'll see you all next time with some more stories.